All right, guys, what is up? Welcome to the Will to Fight podcast. It's been a long time coming, and I've been excited to be able to start a podcast on my own. I've got so many people in my life that have inspired me, stories that I've come across, and I think it's an important tool just to get out there and communicate with people. And we've been getting a lot of great feedback just off of stuff that we've been doing. So I thought a podcast would be awesome, and this is the first podcast. I look forward to many more to come. A lot of stuff that we do, obviously, we integrate, gear, equipment, everything that's a part of our lifestyle, what we use on a daily basis. I take that stuff very, very seriously. So this episode is brought to you by Dynamis Alliance. Dynamis Alliance is the company that I started as a veteran, getting out of the military, starting my transition story. There was a lot of things that I went through along that journey, still learning to this day, every single day. And Dynamis has been one heck of a ride figuring that out from not graduating or barely graduating high school, going right into the military at 17, and then getting out when I was around 30 years old, jumping right into business. It's been interesting. So Dynamis has been a part of that journey for me. There's been so many people part of Dynamis, but that's our company. We teach self-defense, but we also outfit people with the right gear to do it. So go check it out, crusheverything.com, and you'll find a bunch of stuff there. The next thing, we just launched an apparel line. I just launched an apparel line. The tagline that we use is changing the way you think by what you wear. We overlook what you walk out of the house with every single day, what you use to be prepared and what you're putting on your body. It's a part of your lifestyle. So I literally wanted to start a brand that had function and a mindset and an attitude behind it, which forced you to grab onto it and really change the way you approach what you're putting on your body and preparing yourself with every day before you walk out your door. Everything is American made right here in the United States of America. Everything that we do is very well thought out with a lot of function. We create badass dynamic denim that you can use. We have tech pants, workout gear, and we integrate a lot of what we can use for self-defense and awareness into our clothing. So go check that out at Adaptiv-X.com. That's Adaptiv-X, which is Adaptiv-X.com. All right, this episode is also sponsored by Redcon One. There's a lot of supplements out there. There's a lot of stuff on the market. And what you put in your body on a daily basis is so critical. I get people asking me probably more questions about my shakes and nutrition than anything else that I put out on the internet. So we will be coming out with an ebook, but what I put in my body is so important. And this relationship with Redcon One, these guys are up and coming. I actually found these guys when I was at the Baja 1000, which was like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I was out there with Johnny Primo and a couple other guys that I worked with in the past, Damian Clapper from Lead Nav. And the cool part about it was I had these things sliding on the floor. They're right here, the MRE bars. I had them sliding around on the floor. We were out there. We barely had any food, dehydrated from racing during the middle of the night. And I'm like, Primo, what are these things? And he's like, dude, Redcon One, you got to try them. And the first bar I ate was banana nut, and it was amazing. And I fell in love with the way they taste and everything about the brand. And it started to grow on me because I started to look into these guys. And then I found Total War, which is a pre-workout, and I take pre-workout. I want to get fired up, going to the gym. I'm taking pre-workout. And then I met Aaron, and Aaron came here with Damian Clapper to the facility. We did some blade training. It was just a cool experience, and I love those guys. I love the brand. I love the work they're up to. And you have to check them out. Redcon One. You guys can use the code DOM, D-O-M, to get 20% off of your next purchase. But one thing I want to say about sponsors, right? And obviously, it's really important to talk about this because a lot of people have stuff sponsored and it can be confusing. What's what? And at the end of the day, guys, nobody takes what they use on a daily basis more seriously than me, at least that I know. And the stuff that I put on my body, the stuff that I put in my body is really important to me, but also the relationships are very important to me. So I don't ever talk about something. If you look on my Instagram or you look on my social media, you won't find stuff that I'm just going, oh, just do this, this, and this. I have relationships with people that mean a lot to me, which is why I talk about their product. 30 seconds out. Lead Nav, Dynamis Alliance, Adaptiv-X, all these companies that you see me engage with because they're solid guys, they're solid companies, and I believe in the product. So the sponsors that I bring on this show, because they mean something to me. They mean something to me and they have value, and I want to add that value to you guys as well. I'm really pumped about these podcasts. Everybody's got a will to fight story, and I am fired up to get these things started with you guys. I hope you enjoy them, and my goal is to add value to your life. So welcome, and let's kick this first one off. We are all going to have to fight. I don't care if it's mentally, physically, or spiritually. We are all going to have to fight for something in our lives. My goal is to help you forge your will to fight to become the best that you can possibly be for yourself, your family, and everybody else around you. I'm Dom Raso. Welcome to the Will to Fight podcast. All right, guys, we are starting with our first The Will to Fight podcast, and I've got somebody with me that has inspired me even to get to this point. And we all go through struggles, we all battle, and we're all fighting something. And even today, we went through something together that was a huge challenge for both of us. And I'm excited to introduce to you Scott Flansbaum. And I can't wait for you to hear his story, because it's not only inspired me, but even today, racing together, it's inspired other people already. And Scott and I haven't known each other that long, but it's amazing what you can do for the people around you. And there's a lot of people that go on podcasts, and it's a big thing. It's a big thing for a lot of people, and we use that to sharpen our minds. And, you know, for me, I wanted to find the people that, even for me, are forging my mindset every single day. And when we talk about the will to fight and what we're going through, it's a huge deal. And I know Scott he's a Marine. He was in law enforcement. He's a family man. He's a man of faith. So many things that make his foundation so strong for what he's going through, and it's given me that too. So, Scott, welcome, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me. And man, this is such a big deal. And obviously, on a day like today, today was super inspiring. Super inspiring.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, we couldn't have picked a better day to do this.
No.
I mean, Scott, you put this on the calendar. You know, you crushed a 10K today, and it was how many days ago where you were told that you'd never walk again? And how many times in life do we get told something or think something that wants to control and manipulate our lives, and it's up to us to make that decision to say, F that,
Right.
and we're going to move forward.
Right. And 236 days. 236 days ago, I went in for a routine medical procedure, and they hit my spinal cord and paralyzed me from the chest down, and literally went from completely healthy to paralyzed. And the doctors came in before surgery and said, and literally looked my wife and I in the face and said, this is what's happening. We're going to do everything in our power to make it where you're not paralyzed again, but we can assure you that you will be in a wheelchair the rest of your life. And that is, I can't even explain how heavy that is. And yeah, that was 236 days ago, because I am keeping count on my journey. And here we are. I'm sitting here across from you, and the last 236 days have been completely insane, for good and bad reasons. And like you said, we just went out and walked a 10K, which is a little bit of a teaser as to what we'll get into. But yeah, 236 days ago, my life was completely flipped upside down, and you and I didn't even know each other, and here we are sitting here, which is, I mean, it's really amazing, and obviously God's plan.
And I think if guys follow my journey before this, I talk about the will to fight and how that is such a big part of who I am. It sets the foundation for everything that we do. But that fight has to be connected with something. And we're out in LA, we're out in California right now, and we just got done with the race a couple hours ago. And we're sitting here across from each other, but the common cause, regardless of the fight, and your journey, my journey, but we came together today in whatever condition we were in and said, we're going to link up and we're going to go through this challenge together. But the amount of people that we were running by that were screaming at us and yelling and cheering and just pumped to see you out there getting after it. But being able to start that race with the national anthem, with the Pledge of Allegiance, talking about the fallen military and law enforcement guys that have stood up for something bigger than themselves, to stand up for freedom, to put their lives on the line willingly and step in a line in a life of service is very, very humbling. I'm here with one of the widows as well that raced with us today. And, you know who you are. She's sitting right next to me. Mm-hmm. And you have been a huge part of what's our reminder on a daily basis when we wake up and we get out of bed. And I always talk about it. I get out of bed every single day, my feet hit the ground, and I reflect on everything that's going on. And through our journey, through our fight, it's that bigger purpose, knowing what you guys are going through, that drives me every single day. Is like, I don't want to waste a second of my life not doing everything that I can to make myself the best version of me, to let you guys down, to let what I've seen you go through and what you've gone through, to waste that. And even having Scott here today, and this is his will to fight story. And part of his will to fight story is my will to fight story. I've been going through some serious challenges the last couple of months, and there was points where he didn't even know it. But that's the great thing about feeding off of each other and feeding off of the people around you. And even in my post today, I said, surround yourself with people that don't give you an excuse, that push you to do everything you can to strive to be the best that you can be, to not have an excuse, to fight one more step, to fight another foot, and to realize that there's something way bigger than all of us. And that's what it takes. Like every day that we wake up, there's going to be a challenge that comes along. And I always say, you're going to get your ass kicked. You've been getting your ass kicked.
Right.
And watching you step up every day and do what you're doing right now, Scott, has pushed me in a way that you don't know either. And that's the great thing about this being our first podcast, is that you're coming on here to make people better, but you've been making me better. And that's a huge part of our journey that we've even had in the short time that we've known each other.
Right. And that's humbling to me. And so when this happened and I woke up from the surgery and they literally opened my neck from C2 all the way down to T3. So anybody who's listening, it's literally the base of your skull to halfway down your back. And when I woke up, I could not even move. You know, when you're in bed, you want to adjust, go 2 inches, move up a little. I couldn't even do that. And it was a freaking ass kicker, an absolute ass kicker. But the thing is before that surgery, I made a promise to God, because when they said I was going to be in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I said, well, shit, I could have been paralyzed for the rest of my life. I said, please, if you look, at the end of the day, his will is his will. If it was to be paralyzed or to be in a wheelchair, I'm sure I would have figured that out too. But I said, if there's any way I cannot, I promise you, I will honor that, and I will work so hard to get better. And he gave me that. And that is, when you talk about the will to fight, when I was in the Marine Corps, my lieutenant used to say, get back in the fight. And what it was, so that speaks to me, because what that is when you were at your lowest, when the enemy is about to run you over, you got to suck it up. Otherwise, you're going to die. And so many times in life, right, like you were saying, there's times where you just feel like you're going to be overrun. And the people that don't allow that to happen, that have the will to fight, I've found, especially in this last 6 months, are the happiest people. And you're so right. The best part about this whole race we just did, I was telling my wife when we were coming home from it, was not the race and the things that I accomplished. It was the people that I was surrounded with, like you said, meeting Jamie, meeting all these people that put on the race, and honoring all these people. Absolutely, hands down, the best part, and that will to fight.
Yeah, and when you look at the people that we've surrounded ourselves with, this is part of what fighting, and you said happiness, right? And you talked about that.
Right.
And I know your journey hasn't been easy.
Right.
Has it been easy?
No.
Every bit of it.
No.
You know, you got told that you weren't going to be able to walk, and you took that and did something with it. You know, I believe that your promise to God is something that means a lot to you. It means a lot to me. But to wake up every day and say, I'm not going to waste this. I'm going to honor that. And to feel that fulfillment and happiness and true joy, knowing that you're making an impact bigger than yourself. Look, at the end of the day, especially in today's culture, a lot of these younger kids, I feel like a lot of what people think of happiness being consumed about just what you think happiness is, and not going outside of who you are and how it affects other people, can be a very shallow and lonely place. And I think that was the difference between what I saw today and your journey, is that it's about giving it to other people, giving them in their own struggle, knowing that they have the strength to push through to get over, whether it's one more foot or an inch or a day or just another hour that they need to get through. Is sometimes that's what it comes down to. But it's much, much bigger. Like your purpose-driven journey, as much as what happened to you sucks, as much as what's happened to me about losing the guys that I loved, like, there is a huge purpose that's beyond our understanding. You know, I always go back to Philippians. St. Paul said, you know, God will protect your mind and your heart in Christ Jesus. And at the end of the day, God's understanding and his peace is beyond our comprehension. And that's what happens through these journeys, is like, as much as what you're going through right now, like, I'm sure you'd love to have the set of legs to get up and go sprint and be like, hey, I can do whatever I want with my girls and be able to be active. Your journey is inspiring and strengthening somebody else that you may never even meet. You may never even know. You may have had an impact on somebody today that you'll never even come into contact with. And that's huge. And we can't understand that. And it's actually not up for us to understand. And I believe that strengthening that idea, especially in the legacy that we leave with kids looking up to you, with people looking at our journey, it will change lives. And that's what the will to fight is all about, is realizing that you're not just fighting for you, you're fighting for everybody around you, even though you might not even know it.
Absolutely. And you know, the big thing is as much as, you know, you've helped me, your whole thing has always been, I mean, you have a t-shirt that says honor, right? And that was your whole, correct me if I'm wrong, your whole thing was to honor your brothers, right, that didn't get to come home. And when you talked about, you know, and I listened to some of your podcasts and extortion and how you were with your mom and so you weren't there, and being a Marine, especially an infantry Marine, I completely understand that. And it's one of those things where all these years later, for me and my wife, because she saw the huge, it wasn't like I wasn't kicking ass in my recovery, but it was one of those things where when we linked up and I felt like we were connected and we were pushing each other, she saw even more of an improvement, you know, in my recovery. And it's true. And then it comes full circle, and now we're here, and now we're friends, and all this stuff. But you couldn't honor, and like I said, and people don't know, but of course, you know, your best friend's widow is sitting right off camera, right? And it's like, you couldn't honor them any more in my eyes than what you have done for me and my family. And like I said, I'm getting choked up right now because it, like I said, you just couldn't honor them anymore, and it's so important. It is. It's so important. And when we were out there, and like I said, I've seen, because from day one, before I even met you, it was like, I'm going to document this journey, you know, because look, it's a shit sandwich that we were just dealt. But I want to document it because I've been through some hard times, you know, especially with surgery. So I wanted to just document it for myself because I forget what that was like, you know, when I went through, you know, a really bad car accident and that thing. But more importantly, I wanted to inspire people, you know, but I had no clue that you and I, we're going to, do this. And so it's one of those things where, like I said, you just couldn't honor him anymore. And I hate to say it, but it's a cliche. If I can just touch one person, like, how amazing would that be? And with me, you've absolutely, I mean, listen, you've touched a lot of people, but I can only speak for myself. And it's like, you have no clue. I know you know a little because we've become friends, but seriously, you have no clue, like, how much you have kept that promise.
And that's the greatest thing about watching you on your journey, is that you did the same thing for me and you didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Scott had a Crush Everything t-shirt.
Right.
You were rocking it during some of your rehab.
Yep.
Where you could barely even walk.
Yeah.
And, I saw that come through my feed, and I'm like, this guy is getting after it. And I started to read a little bit more about what was going on and realized that you had been paralyzed not too long before that. And I was like, dude, that whatever was going on that first day that I saw that post, maybe it was like I would put off my workout for like a half hour or an hour. I'm like, what am I doing? Slacking, like, boom, you fired me up. I got up and I went, and I just didn't think about it. And, that's what I heard in you too, is that firing that up in one another with the people that we surround ourselves with and people that we have impact on. Listen, social media can be an evil, dark hole if you let it in your life. That's why I'm very careful about who I follow and what I listen to and what I consume. Same thing about what you eat, what you put in your body every day. It's the same thing about who you become. And the stuff that we're consuming on media is so important. And most people roll out of bed and that's the first thing they do is open up Instagram, right? So the first thoughts you put in your head. The reason I'm bringing that up is because we've been able to push each other, right? Because of social media that can be used for the greater good in the world if you're careful enough about it. Scott pushed me on days I didn't even know about it, right? We didn't know we were going to be sitting here crushing a 10K together with your wife and the widow of one of my best friends and brothers from the military and law enforcement. And we had an amazing day, but that wasn't something that you knew was going to happen, and neither did I. But social media was a tool that we ended up using to bring us together. So it can be a great thing if you use it right, but you've got to be careful. And I wanted to bring that up because I think it can be such an impactful tool. And that's how we came together. And we haven't known each other that long, but we have fundamentally made a huge impact in each other's lives that we wouldn't have predicted. And that's the way God works, in those small ways that end up leading to bigger things. And that's faith. That's where you have to have faith. We couldn't have known that we were going to have an impact like that. We couldn't have known that we were going to do that for each other unless we trusted the idea of having faith that, look, this is inspirational to me. This is talking to me a good way. Nothing what you were saying, doing, I was like, oh, wait a second, I'm questioning this. Everything was positive, moving in the right direction, and it took you to make that decision. Whatever it was when you saw that, whatever it was that when you were rocking that t-shirt and that's flipped the switch in your head, you made that choice. You made that decision. And I really believe that, like, everybody has the ability to do that. You just need to make the choice.
Right. And, you're so right. And I've told you this before, to a lot of people it might sound stupid, right? A saying, crush everything, will to fight, whatever it is. There's a million of them out there, but you never know how important and what it is to that person. And I had told you, I've been following you for years, never bought any of the t-shirts, believed in it, but it was just like, oh, this cool motivational guy on Instagram, I'm going to follow him, right? I was getting ready to fly for the first time to go for a stem cell procedure in Los Angeles. So I had to get on a plane. And I can't tell you, when you have a walker and you're disabled and you've never been through that, the anxiety that you have. Not only that, I had to get the stem cell procedure I did, they had to take them out of me. So I kind of had to have like liposuction and all this stuff. And obviously you could imagine I'm a little suspect about medical procedures now because of what I went through.
I'll bet, man.
Right? So it was one of those things where I was just like, I don't know why, but I needed the shirt because I felt like I had that attitude and I needed to, like I said, it sounds so stupid, but I needed it. And
it doesn't sound stupid.
Right. But to some people it might. But to me it wasn't. You know?
You can't brush something like that off, though.
No.
I mean, at the end of the day, as humans, we can get complacent in so many areas of our life.
Right.
And like, look, I'm wearing 3 bands on my left wrist right now. Unbreakable, The Will to Fight, and Crush Everything. I don't care. If I look down for a split second, I get a quick reminder and a trigger in my mind that says, you know what? There are no excuses. I can do anything I put my mind to. I do have a bigger purpose, and I need to take advantage of every second that's going on right in front of me right now. But it takes those reminders. I don't care who you are. You need them or you'll get complacent. I was going through buds, and I remember I was in first phase. It was right before Hell Week broke out, and I remember just going through all the unknowns in my head, and that's what life is. Life is unknown. Life is an unknown journey that you have to have faith through. But these small details, this mindset and this attitude that you can apply to your life can fundamentally trigger you and change the way you approach every bit of your life. And the guy was running by me. I was up front, right on the corner on the right side, getting ready to cross over, what's the road on the main strip there in Coronado? To go over across the street from the base and go to the chow hall. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, it heads out to Imperial Beach. I forgot the name of it, but the strip there, the Strand, yeah. So we went across that, and right before we were getting ready to cross, the light was red, and I see this guy. He's running, no shirt on. He's got the short little, swim trunks on that Scott keeps getting me to try to wear, and he's running with fins in his hand. And he runs by, and he looks me right in the eye, and he's like, "It's all worth it in the end." And that's it. Boom. It's gone. Out of my life forever. And like that stuck with me. Like just like The Will to Fight, Unbreakable, Crush Everything sticks with me, that flipped a switch. I was able to visualize the end. I was able to visualize the finish, right? What am I doing this for? Something much bigger. I'm sitting in here before Hell Week with like 200 plus guys, right? Or whatever it was after the first phase had started. But ultimately, I said to myself, I was like, it's all worth it in the end. And I remember just sitting there reflecting on those words. And words can have a big impact. Mm-hmm. I've heard guys out in the industry be like, "Oh, whatever, motivational this, you just got to do it." And I'm like, okay, maybe that works for you. But you know what? The majority of people that I know, they need something to hold on to make their own, to put in their heads, to trigger themselves, to remind them why they're doing it. And that was a big one for me through Buds. It's all worth it in the end. I can't tell you how many times I visualized the finish. Whatever is going to come in my path along the way is not going to stop me because it is worth it in the end. And I believe that's life's journey that we've got going on. And then when you get deeper than that, when you really start digging into the mind, the human mind, about how much goes on in our head and how complicated things can be, the fight that you're going through right now, the fight that I'm going through, everybody in this room right now, like we're all challenged, and we have to be able to see that and really dig deep with why we think the way we do. And that's why these things mean so much to me. That's why The Will to Fight means so much to me, because I know whoever's listening to this, you've either been fighting or you're going to have to fight. And it's trying to get people to embrace that idea of having faith to see the finish and know that it's much bigger than you. And I think with that being said, Scott, it's like, this journey is like that fight. We can sit here and talk about like, look, everybody's going to know your story, but I want to talk a little bit more and go deeper into Scott and say, look, your head, what's inside your head about those little mental battles that you've had to go through, whether it was in the gym, whether it was at home, as much as you want to talk about, I want to talk about, because those are the small battles and the little voice that we all have inside of our head when it's the last rep or the things that we have to deal with that really make the difference and define our character at some of our worst moments. So, I don't know how much you're willing to open up, but I'd love to.
No, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. And it has been a fight. But the first thing I will say, and we've talked about this, is, and I truly believe this, is the more you are uncomfortable in life, probably the more you are growing. And that's what I've learned over the last 6 months is like I said, everything in my life that I look back on that has been important or successful it's probably because I've worked my ass off for it. And I've had to, like you, it's like nothing's been easy, right? Nothing's been easy. And of course, this is an extreme version. But let me just tell you that first they told me I'm going to be in a wheelchair the rest of my life, right? I come out of surgery. I'm paralyzed from the chest down. I come out of surgery. They've done 8 levels of my neck, completely opened up 8 levels of my neck and spine because they had to get the blood out in order to save my life, right? So that's painful. I can't tell you how. That's what I thought was like. I tell my wife, oh, as soon as this neck pain goes away, I'll be fine. But coming out of surgery, I was still paralyzed in my right leg. So it's like, okay, well, this is good. I can use my arms, my chest, my left leg, but my right leg is paralyzed. And it's like, but the doctors told me again, because I asked the surgeon. This is how crucial it was. I didn't even meet the surgeon before my surgery. That's how, much of an emergency surgery it was. So I woke up after surgery to the surgeon. And I'm like, who are you? Right? And he's just like, I'm the guy who just fixed you. So he goes through everything. He's checking me out. And like I said, my right leg didn't work at all. So that was Friday. It happened on a Friday. And they go, listen, even with everything working except for your right leg, you're still going to be in a wheelchair the rest of your life. Which at the time it was like, okay, like I can't even deal with this right now. I'm in so much pain. It's been so traumatic. I just want to see my wife and my kids, and we'll deal with it. So Sunday night, like I said, it happened Friday. Sunday night, the physical therapist comes in for the first time and wants to assess me. It's like, all I want to do is get you out of bed, okay, and get you in that chair, which was 2 feet away. So I had a nurse who was amazing. I became friends with. Big guy. And this physical therapist, big guy, try and get me out of bed. It was everything in their power to get me up and just put weight on my legs. As soon as they got me up, they were like, no, we're not going to the chair. That was good. And as you've seen in the videos, and if people want to go on my Instagram, they can see my right leg didn't move. They had to move it for me. And right there, it was, okay, we know what we got to do. You're going to be living here. We have a rehab clinic on the 3rd floor. You're going to be here for the next 3 months. And you're going to have to, for 3 to 4 hours a day, do the most intense rehab you have ever felt in your life to just try and get this leg back. It's like, oh my gosh. My wife and I looked at each other. I mean, we have 4 kids at home. One of them just turned 1 the week before. It's like, how are we even going to do this, right? And the next morning, physical therapist came in. But this was the thing. I said, and this is the will to fight. Whatever they ask me to do, I'm not going to say no. And whatever they ask me to do, I'm going to do twice as much. So these 2 little ladies come in that there's no way they were over 5 feet tall each. About 100 pounds soaking wet. They go, get up. We're going for a walk. This is Saturday. And I looked at it. Oh, no, you know what? Was it Monday, babe? It was right after. But I looked at them like, you guys are crazy. Like, it took these 2 huge men to get me up. What are you going to do? And I'm like, but once again, it wasn't no. It was like, yep. I'm like, I don't know how they're going to do it, right? Well, sure enough, they brought in a hydraulic walker, which would basically carry me. So after I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay. And guess what? They're like, we just want you to walk 10 feet. I was like, nope. We're going to the end of the hallway, right? Did that. And then, sure enough, every day, a little bit more. But every morning I woke up, it was in my mind, how am I going to do this? There's no way. So after the second day, it was, we're going to give you a regular walker. Those little dumpy little silver ones. It's like, no way. I need the hydraulic walker. But once again, I never said no. Okay. I never said no. And once again, I did twice as much that they asked for. And slowly but surely, guess what happened? I started getting better. And on Sunday night, my wife came back after going to try and take care of the kids. And I said, look. And she goes, what? And I swear to God, Dom, you would never have seen it. But I wiggled my toes in my right foot about 2 millimeters, if even that. And of course, my wife started crying because she knew, like, holy cow, that's huge, right? So needless to say, Thursday, so it hadn't even been a week, right? It happened on Friday. The physical therapist came in and said, let's go. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's see if we can do stairs. I was like, all right. She's mumbling under her breath. Remember, I'm supposed to go to rehab. This is the day I'm supposed to move to the rehab clinic, live there for 3 months, which I didn't even know you did that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And we're stressed beyond stressed. And she's mumbling under her breath. I don't think he needs to go there. I think he can go home. Like, I don't know. And I'm just looking at her like, I don't know what she's talking about. And so I was like, all right, whatever. And she's like, you have stairs at your house, right? I'm like, yep. And if I can get upstairs, I pretty much have everything. She goes, yeah, let's go try stairs. And we're walking, on this floor. And she goes, they're by your room. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't see any physical therapy stairs there. I've been here a week. I'm like, granted, I'm kind of out of it, but... And so she takes me to the stairwell of the hospital. And she's like hooking me up to this belt. And, she's really nervous. And she goes, let's see if you can do 2 stairs. This is how you climb. This is how crazy it is. People don't understand. Let me show you how to climb a stair. Because you don't know how right now. I know mentally you know how, but your body doesn't know how. So she showed me. I did it. And then it was that will to fight. And I was like, I'm climbing this whole flight. And I took off. And she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. And I climbed the flight of stairs. And then she's like, all right, let me show you how to go down. Well, let me tell you, going downstairs is a lot harder than going up. So I went down. And then I wanted to document it. I'm like, please, will you take this video? And she's like, hell no. I am not letting go of you. I'm like, please, I got to do this. My wife's not here. I got to show her. And she's like, I swear to God, if you fall. And I was like, and it's like, I promise you I won't. I did 4 flights of stairs. So they get ready to discharge me.
Crushed stairs.
Crushed them. Which, just so you know, the whole time I've been here, my wife will tell you, I've been carrying my walker up the stairs because I know that's big to you. And walking the stairs. Right. Carrying a walker upstairs instead of
So if you're listening to
taking
this, you have no excuses.
Yes. So anyways, what's so crazy is the nurse practitioner, the first one that told me I was going to be paralyzed and broke the news to my wife and I, comes in. She starts telling us all the discharge instructions, right? And I look at her. All of a sudden I go, oh my gosh. I'm like, can you believe this? I'm going home today. I'm going home, like excited. I go, you were the first one to come in and tell me that basically my life was over and I'm going home today. I'm not in a wheelchair. And she looks at me and she goes, you are single-handedly, this is Mayo Clinic, okay? The Mayo Clinic, one of the best in the country. They see the worst. She goes, you single-handedly are the fastest spinal hematoma patient we've ever seen come in here. And she goes, and not by a little. She goes, by a lot, by weeks. And she goes, I don't know if this lady's a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, whatever. She goes, you are a miracle. You are an absolute miracle. And this is a medical professional at Mayo Clinic. And once again, I don't say that to brag. I say that because I'm like, oh my gosh. I made the promise. And it wasn't just to God. It was to my wife. It was to my kids. Like, they need their dad. right? She needs her husband. And I put in the work. I didn't say no. I had that will to fight. Like you said, I crushed everything, right? And because of that, I went home 6 days later.
I just hear what you said about when they tell me to do something, I'm going to do twice as much. And I just hear that vision, that attitude, those thoughts, the visualization of not giving yourself another option. You know, and our bodies are so complex, and especially our minds and the way we think. And it's like, if I dig down to what you were saying, most people give up. Most people, the majority, when a challenge comes into their lives, it's easier to give up. It's easier to do the minimum. And you already said it yourself. Like, we know that growth comes from discomfort. We know it. We know it. Everybody knows it, but it's easier not to do it. And I think for me, what I'm hearing is the visualization, the positive attitude. Even though it might not have been easy to confront or accept, it was like, I'm going to do twice as much. So you didn't give yourself an option. You were going to be like, no, they're going to come in and ask me to do something. I'm going to say no. They're not going to walk in and say, hey, move to that chair. And you're like, nope, I'm good. You did it. And then you were like, I'm going to do twice as much. You already had it prepped in your head. Nobody had to give you that attitude. And I truly believe that even when we break it down to like a science of neural pathways, of how your mind is regenerating and healing, is you just went through a super traumatic surgery, an emergency surgery, that you're getting told that you're not going to be able to walk, and then that wasn't an option for you. And I believe that the mind is that powerful, you know, and then praying and working through those dynamics and having something bigger than yourself, like that to me is what solidified everything for you to be like, boom, you're out of there. You pushed. You're able to get to the point where we just crushed a 10K today, right? We did it, and you walked the last, what was it, mile? Mile, probably plus.
We did the last
unassisted
mile.
with no walker.
You guys assisted.
A little bit.
You helped my hand.
We helped you. And it's that positive thinking that regardless of what the outcome is, it can't hurt you.
No.
It can't hurt you to think forward. Focus on the finish. Focus on that visualization. I mean, that is just powerful stuff, you know? And that came into your mind about saying, like, look, that's the attitude that you already had ingrained into you. You just found something that connected it and said, now I can verbalize something, visualize something, think about something, and then put it into action.
Right. But let me also say this. One of the reasons I had that attitude was because 12 years earlier, I was in this really bad car accident, and obviously years of probably carrying a 50 cal in the Marine Corps wasn't good for my back. And I didn't crush everything. I didn't have the will to fight when I went through that. And so it was one of those things where I looked back on that and I found myself obviously in a worse situation. I thought back then it was terrible. And I just was like, in my mind, it's like, dude, that was pathetic, you know, in hindsight. That was pathetic. So I want anybody who's listening to this to not think, and I'm sure you get this a lot too, you know, oh, you just got it. You're just one of those guys. You got it, right? You got it all figured out. And I know now being your friend, it's like, no, I struggle every day. And same thing with me. It's not like I just, look, yeah, I was a Marine and I accomplished that, and I've accomplished a lot in the business world and all that stuff. But there is so many times that I look back and I'm like, no, that was not your best effort. And with this go around, it was like, no. And my dad gave me some great advice one time. He goes, because I was telling him, I'm like, I'm really sorry, you know, I made this mistake. And he told me, it was really sweet. My dad's not one to be very sweet, right? But he gives great advice. And he's like, it's okay to make mistakes. He's like, you should make mistakes. He goes, when it gets to be a problem is when you make the mistake over and over and don't learn from it. So make the mistake, but learn from it and grow. And that's what happened this go around, was I won't be that person again, right? And then along the way, and I tell people this all the time, and it's funny, you hooked me up with somebody who was struggling that reached out to you that I just had experience with. And I told you, I'm like, give him my number. If he needs help, I'll help him. And you hooked me up with him. And it's one of those things where, you know, it's...
I know it helped him, by the way.
Right.
You know, and you didn't even know that guy, but he was struggling.
No, and we're friends now.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked a couple times. Like I said, I want to pay it forward. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I made that mistake. So that's okay. Reset, re-engage, right?
Yeah, and you know, when we think about the choices that you made, I keep going back to you being like, when they say I'm to do something, I'm going to do double or do more.
Right.
Go take 2 steps. Well, you ended up taking 4 flights of
Right.
stairs. And in our lives, in our heads, in our mindset, and in the choices that we make, we are given, I don't know how many decisions or actions that happen in our head on a daily basis. I think it's something like thousands, if not millions. And your mind goes through a process. And I always say that the will to fight in your life is just like working out in the gym. It's a muscle. And if you constantly choose the choice that's worse for you, that's why I said it's very freaking simple. You're looking at the flight of stairs and you're looking at the escalator. Who are you going to be? And that's your life when it comes down, when you boil everything down. I can watch you make a few decisions in life and know what path you're taking. And we all have an amazing capability as humans. And it does kill me. It hurts my soul. I die a little bit inside every time I see somebody not reach their full potential, even in every decision they make, right? Look, we're all going to have bad days. We're all going to decide to, I mean, I hate even saying this, but I took the escalator yesterday because everybody, there was no stairs in sight. Everybody took everybody was trying to talk to me. I was like, I can't even talk to anybody right now because I'm hurting so bad inside because it's been like a year since I've taken a freaking escalator. But that choice hurt me, and it's so stupid, and I might sound like a dork right now, but that is my life in a nutshell, trying to make the best decision that I possibly can every time I'm confronted with it. And because we are human, you have to work that muscle again and again and again, and I truly believe that's part of the reason you're sitting in front of me right now, is because you didn't choose at this juncture in your life to take the easy route. You said, I'm going to work on this, and as every day, have you made the best choice you possibly could? Probably not. Neither have I. And we're all going through whatever it is that we're going through, and that's why I challenge everybody listening to this. I challenge myself, and I challenge you to continue to do what you've been doing, because it's led us to this point, and it's strengthened us. And good on you for making that choice and strengthening your will to fight every day. What else have you gone through mentally, you know, even in the gym or at home, that you want to get into that you've had a challenge with?
So, great question. Mentally, yeah, this whole last 6 months has been a mental, that's the biggest thing. I mean, physically it's hurt a lot, but when you're hurting a lot, what does that do? It messes with you mentally. But look, I got out of that hospital 6 days later, but that didn't mean I skipped out and danced and was like, woohoo, we're done, right? That was the beginning of all the hard work. And so mentally, this is what I'd like to say about that, especially for anybody who's listening, and we've talked about this. Before this accident happened, I checked every box as far as being a successful businessman, successful father, successful husband. I'm talking about outside looking in. I mean, I checked every box. I was doing everything, providing for my family, everything that comes with that. But I was dead inside. I had a job where it was just killing me. But it was one of those jobs where anybody would kill to have. I mean, people really were jealous of my job and what I did and all these different things. But inside and my wife and I talked about it, and she saw it. And she was the one telling me, go do something else. But I was struggling with, this is my career. I've been doing this for 20 years. Nobody's going to pay me what I'm making to go do something new. But luckily, God always has a plan. And he was like, all right, you're not going to make that decision? I'll make it for you. Right? And I don't think God wanted me paralyzed or anything like that. I think it was, but once again, God does everything for a reason. And so, yeah, mentally, over the last 6 months, I'm struggling. I mean, we just put it together the other day. In 6 months, I've been to physical therapy over 120 times. Okay? I've done over 400 hours of physical therapy in 6 months. That doesn't include the gym, because I'm going to the gym. But every single day, I wake up, I spend 30 minutes just trying to get out of bed, to make my daughters cereal, to put milk in their cereal. Once they leave, because it's crazy having 4 kids, as you know, and getting everybody out, right? It's like this mad rush. But then all of a sudden they leave. And then I go to physical therapy. And I work extremely hard at physical therapy. And it's great. I have the best physical therapist. Everybody, it's like family, obviously, as you can imagine. But it's just like in the hospital. Everybody would come in and be done by 9, 10 o'clock. Same thing now. And I remember looking at Maria, my wife, in the hospital when it was 10 o'clock and it was done. And we just started crying. Because it's like, that's it. That's it for the day. Right? Because at that time, that's all I could do. Right now, that's it. My family's at school or work. I'm sitting there at home. Everybody else is out working. I'm by myself. I'm in a lot of pain. I can't work out anymore. My body physically can't take it. What do I do? It's like, what do I do? More importantly, they say I'll never work again. Right? That's unacceptable. Yeah, I might be getting disability, but I'm not going to sit at home. So yeah, mentally every day I struggle with, I'll be walking around my neighborhood because that's all I can do, and literally be in tears because it's like, what am I going to do? And that's where you came in, and seeing your fight and just how you motivate people. And it's like, everybody comes up to me even before this accident, because I have a whole nother life before this accident, and they're like, you need to be a motivational speaker, you need to tell your story, whatever. And I don't really believe that, but obviously I have a story. But now with this, it's like, no, people are struggling every single day. I know it because I was that person. I was checking every box, but I was freaking dead inside, and I wouldn't step up and make that hard decision of saying, this isn't right. Like, do something for yourself. And so now my thing is that's what I want to do. But how do you do that when every morning you wake up and you can barely get out of bed? Every day, my left leg, you could pour burning hot water on it right now. I wouldn't flinch. I don't feel hot or cold. I'm in pain 24/7. Every night my wife has to massage my leg for a half hour, which you have a spouse. When they ask for a massage, it's not something. Why do we pay people for massages? Because you don't want to do it, right? But she's nice enough to do it every night because she knows I'm struggling. So, yeah, mentally every day, there's a part of me that wants to curl up and die. But my goal now is kind of like what you do, is let me try and reach out and touch one person. Let me show my girls what it is to fight. And but yeah, I struggle every day. Look, I had a massive spinal cord injury. I got massive plumbing issues, if that says something. And I'm not afraid to say it, because what am I supposed to do? I don't have a choice in it. And but yeah, I struggle. Look, there's days that, like I told you, you're sitting here, if you're watching this, there used to be little reflectors. I'm sitting in my walker right now as we do this podcast. It's like I chucked it down the street one day because I was angry. angry. But so yeah, mentally I struggle every single day. And my wife and I fight every day because we have been put in this freaking horrible situation. That's not fair. But once again, our goal is apologize, reset, re-engage. And don't let this thing, it's a monster. Don't let it eat you. But
yeah, and I like I said, that's why you've inspired me. You know, the journey that, and thank you, by the way, for going into that, because I think it's important for people to hear. You know, it's the struggles that we have by ourselves that people don't get to see, and that's the real part of it, right?
Right.
That's the real part of the struggle that you're going through. And you know, I remember your post you put up. You're like, screw it, I'm taking a picture of this damn thing. I'm laying on the ground while the walker's sitting in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And you know, it's that mentality of getting back up,
right,
and keeping it going.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the difference, and that's what I'm talking about, strengthening that muscle every single day, because you've inspired, watching you today on the run, inspire people around you. Like, if you did nothing else anymore, you've already done it. And I've heard that too, right? Like,
right.
You've inspired me, you're good. And it's like, no, the journey doesn't stop here, because it is much bigger, and I want to keep fighting for it. And it sounds like through this journey, you're finding and solidifying and forging your purpose, right? And everybody's life is going to continually change every day. The people in your life are going to change, and your purpose can evolve over time, especially based off of your circumstances. And it's your ability to take the circumstances that you have right now in your life, find out the best way to move forward, and continue to find something bigger than you that's going to drive you. And that's what I'm hearing, Scott. That's what I hear from you. Right. That's what I've seen from you in the race today. And we both came together to be like, how amazing is this that we get to honor the people that have gone before us? Right. I always talk about that. And when the going gets tough, it's like, look, you're talking about inspiring other people through this journey, through this pain, through this suffering and sacrifice. You know, that, I mean, I am doing my best, right? I'm a Christian, and I do everything I can following the footsteps of Christ, and I try to strengthen it every day. But out of love, to suffer and sacrifice what we have for other people is something where I believe it's a lost concept of what that means. And sometimes it's gonna suck, and sometimes it's gonna hurt. But if you're doing it for the right reasons, out of love for the people around you, for the people that you may not even know, like, you're making the world a better place. And that's what I'm telling you, Scott. You've made the world a better place just from what you're doing on your journey. And I know to you, like, I can tell, I just heard what you said in your head just by the facial expression. You're like, I'm just doing what I know I need to be doing. And that's what I've been doing too, is like, we're pushing and we're fighting, and we see the impact, and it's important. And it's like, that's what I want out of the Will to Fight podcast, is guys like you, your journey, that say, I've learned something from my fight on making the choice to go right when life tried to pull me left.
Right.
And you're changing lives. You've changed my life. And this story about Scott and us just meeting each other, I told you about social media, but I was going through a difficult challenge the last couple of months too. I've had people that I thought I was convicted were going to be in my life to the day I was in the grave, right? All of a sudden pick up and leave. And that sucked, and it hurt. And it made no sense to me, and I think even people in this room have dealt with stuff like that in their life, where mentally, physically, and spiritual are the three battles that we're going to consistently be confronted with on a daily basis. And right now, huge physical battle, right? Which will get into your head. Everything ends up back into, what are we doing mentally and spiritually? And when I was crushed through those things that were happening and trying to process like what was going on, like, I've had some bad freaking days, and seeing what Scott was going through and like the perfect timing, I would open it up and be like, there he is, getting after it, talking about the will to fight. And I'm like, what excuse do I have to sit here and feel sorry for myself, get off my ass, get to the gym, shake it off, and fight another day? Because we all have a bigger purpose than just ourselves. And that's what you've helped solidify in me too. Like, you know, everybody looks at me too. They're like, all right, Dom, the will to fight guy, the crush everything guy. And like, wholeheartedly, absolutely, yes. But do I have bad days? You bet. And it was you really made an impact on me this last several months that pushed me to the next level, and made me have days where I was like, I don't have an excuse. Right. Scott's getting after it, right? And we just feed off each other. It was awesome.
And you know what's so crazy is before we got on this, I looked at it, and I think it's been 76 days, okay, since SHOT Show. It's been, so you reposted, day 100 was a big day for me. So I wore your shirt before that, but you reposted and I think really got your attention on day 100. Today's day 236. And that's what I'm talking about, is you and I, and this isn't going to be everybody, but in 136 days, there's no doubt that our journey, like I said, I could probably name 12 people just on that race today that were inspired by it. Our journey. And once again, our journey is just two veterans that, the way veterans should be, care about each other. And if any veteran comes up to me and says, I need a hand, guess what? You get my hand. And that's exactly what you did for me. But in 136 days, we have done that much. You know what I mean? And it's like, so for anybody who's listening, it's one of those things, like in 130, I can't even imagine what's going to happen in 2 years between you and I, you know? And guess what? If the worst thing that happens is we're just freaking great friends and our families get together every year and hang out, well, I can live with that. But I don't believe that's what's going to happen.
And honestly, like, you know, your journey has already inspired other people. And, you know, when I think about why we even decided to do this today, you know, this sparked this podcast. And people have been bugging me for a podcast for I don't know how long. And this is what got it going. It was like, look, there's a purpose behind what we have going on. There's a real purpose.
Right.
I love that we can always bring it back to honor, too. And I think that's a common thread that we have, you know, as veterans, as guys that have respected law enforcement, and then going through a journey that takes some fight and making that choice every day. What does honor mean to you? What do you want everybody to know that you know about honor, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah. Honestly, thinking about it for 5 seconds right now, today what honor means is getting on a plane, flying out to LA, and I'm sorry if you live in LA, but it's like LA is probably one of the last places I want to go because of the traffic and everything, right? We hired a nanny, okay? We spent a lot of money. We flew out here. We rented a place. You know, it wasn't easy. And I can tell you right now, getting on a plane for me is not easy, okay? We did that because I told my wife I have to be there for Dom. Because Dom's going to be kind of in my backyard. Being in Scottsdale, it's not that far, okay? I have an opportunity to do this with Dom and honor all these people, but more importantly, Dom set out on a mission, I don't know how many years ago you did this, to honor all your brothers. Like I said, in the last few months, I've learned more about Louis. I've learned more about Extortion 17, right? I've had my own brothers that have fallen in the wars that we've had. But it was that important to get out here and do this race. And trust me, my wife and I had no clue today. I mean, yeah, you're honoring and blah, blah, blah. I have a belt with patches from every one of my brothers and sisters in law enforcement that are in law enforcement now that I wore today. I mean, that we made a real sacrifice coming out here. But it was because we wanted to be with you because of what you've done for us. And once again, it's what we needed. It's what our family needed. And you started this whole thing to honor your brothers. And honestly, man, that to me, I mean, if that doesn't explain what honor is and coming full circle, I don't know what doesn't.
The whole purpose of honor in my life, like even just listening to you talk about that, is I feel like honor for me is easy because it's been integrated in my life. Mm-hmm. And I always use the example of those circumstances that I've been through in the military with the guys that I absolutely loved, and they were like brothers to me. But then going through each one of those consecutively again and again and again, it made me realize how important it was to teach people what honor really means. I mean, I'll go to the grave teaching people about honor, and I will always reflect on the sacrifice that's been made. And I pray that people see that and what that means. Is like, are you living your life in a way that those guys that have sacrificed and stepped up would be proud of? You know, they're looking down on us right now, and they're like, what are those guys doing?
Right.
You know, I put my life on the line. I stepped up to do this. Mm-hmm. And how are we honoring that in our everyday life? I truly believe that the day that we forget about the foundation that's been set before us is the day that we're all going to die inside. If we're not waking up every day to live in the footsteps of the people that have given us the opportunity to sit here. I mean, dude, we're in LA. We're in America. We have nobody checks my ID going from state to state. Nobody bothers me. People have no idea how much freedom that we have in this country. Take it for granted every day. Honor is a part of my life, and I take it for granted sometimes.
Oh.
And it's important that people embrace what we've been given. It's amazing how entitled and selfish people have become, forgetting the fact that you're sitting right where you are because men and women have been willing to give everything for you. You know, I use the World War II example all the time. Those guys knew they were getting on the back of those boats going up on that beach being like, I'm going to die.
Right.
But if I can make a little bit of momentum for that guy behind me, and that's, you know, I went overseas, I chased bad guys, and I'm like, I might die. And I'm okay with that. I accepted that hundreds of times going on target. But I was like, if this is going to take a little bit of the momentum, if I have to take one of these guys with me, then this is an opportunity for my children, for the kids that are young in our country, to have a little bit of space, to live with freedom, and to live with the ability to make this world a better place with those values and principles. That's what we need in this world. Right. And yeah.
So if I can add to that, the other thing too that I've learned, which might not be popular with you, but it's funny, I was talking to a doctor about this that I served with in the Marine Corps. He became a doctor. I always thought freedom was the most important thing. Okay. Number one, you know, freedom, besides obviously our faith. But it's not. It's your health. Because if you don't have your health, you are a prisoner of your own body. And it doesn't matter if you have freedom or not. So I always say it's health and then freedom. Because if you don't have your health, there's so many people I know that reach out to you. They're dying of cancer, or their kids are, or whatever. And I promise you, they will completely agree with this. If you don't have your health, okay, then you have nothing. And like you said, honor, freedom, all that stuff. How dare we? How dare I take that for granted? How dare I check those boxes? And that's why I say I've never felt more alive, and I tell my wife this all the time. I've never felt more alive in the last 6 months, even though I'm going through this freaking horrible thing, and you've been able to see it. It's not easy. When we walked that last mile, I was hurting, and I will probably hurt really bad for the next week, okay? But like you said, all those people that gave their life for this country, whether it was first responder or military, I promise you, or maybe they're paralyzed, maybe they're missing limbs, they would give anything for anybody who's sitting out there and just dying inside. They would scream at them. I'm sorry, I'm going to be vulgar. Get the fuck up.
Yep. If you're listening to this, you know, I hope we're talking to you, because we want nothing more than for you to shift that mindset right now, right here and now, and just change. Because, like you said, people are checking the boxes, and it's easy today. You know, I hate Fitbits, by the way. So if you're using a Fitbit, they drive me crazy. But people are like, "Oh, I got my 10,000 steps," right? Like, who? What? People spend more time trying to set the damn thing up than getting to the gym. It's just, that's a check in the box, guys. It's not enough. You are capable of so much more in your life, and you're being called out. And if, like I said, this is what this podcast is about: your ability to engage in life, your ability to fight through your circumstances, stop checking the box, stop being empty inside, and live for something bigger than yourself. You know, that's what, you know, I'm listening to Scott. We get rude awakenings, guys, and we get smacked in the face with life. And sometimes that's what it takes to really start stepping up and living to the best of your ability. You're going to get complacent. You're going to take things for granted. And this podcast is it's to serve you in a way that reminds you that you don't need a rude awakening. You need to do it right now. You need to make that choice. You need to make that choice every single day. The more difficult choice through discomfort is going to be growth. And it's growth that you can look back on, so you're not sitting around 10 to 20 years from now looking back and be like, "Oh, I thought I was happy. I thought I was doing enough. I thought I was just kind of getting by." And, you know, at the end of the day, if you're only trying to be happy just for you and you get stuck in your own world, listen, it's about making an impact for the people around you. It's about changing the world for the better. And we don't want you to have the rude awakening. Start thinking about living your life to the fullest potential possible. You know, crush everything that you do. That means putting 1,000% effort in everything you do. And when we talk about the will to fight, life's going to knock you on your ass. Life's knocked me on my ass. Life's knocked Scott on his ass. And it's taking the opportunity to realize that in those moments are going to define your true character. That voice that's inside your head that says, do the easy thing or do the more difficult thing. That is ultimately what is going to make you who you become. And I want you to look back on your life someday and say, I made the right choice and I left an impact and I did something greater than myself. Scott, it's been awesome, man. And honestly, it's you've fired me up. You've given me motivation. You've solidified my attitude and my mindset. We came out here. We crushed the race today. We inspired people all around us, which to me is like, there is no greater success than to see other people shift their mindset from just listening or watching something that we're doing. That's the key, I believe. And people have done it for me. You've done it for me. And I pray that we continue to do it for other people. And that's what this race was all about. If you're going to be in LA, or if you're not, if you're a veteran listening to this, you better get your ass out here next year.
Oh my gosh.
Run to remember in LA next year. We will be back. We'll be out here. This year we didn't end up throwing a booth up. We're going to put a booth up with some of our gear. That's kind of like a cool little side thing. But most importantly, we're going to get together. I want more flags out there next year. I want more support next year. And we're going to be out here getting after it for a bigger purpose than ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And man, I can't thank you enough, Dom. I mean, I just, from my family to yours, I can't thank you enough. And it has been, like I said, it's been one of the worst parts of our time, but the best part is, like you said, surround yourself with great people, and you absolutely have become, one of my best friends. And it's one of those things where our families will now get to grow old together. And like I said, with Jamie and Steve and Mark and everybody at the race and John and Michael, I mean, once again, so many amazing people that I can just see every year us coming together and doing this. And it's just been awesome, and thank you for inspiring me. I mean, we're branching out with Unbreakable, and if people want to follow, it's on Instagram, it's Unbreakable_journey, and like I told you earlier, it's under the Will to Fight umbrella.
Now you're gonna get more eyes on your stuff, man. You can't slack off at all now.
No,
you gotta get
but
after
but it's one of those things. It's not. People don't know this, but I'll show it for the camera. But you talked about it. I have the Will to Fight tattooed on my wrist, and that is not an old tattoo. That's a new one, and it's got 2 crosses, which represents my wife and I. And like you said, waking up in the morning, seeing something like this. You said it's super important. It was so important to me that I wanted to make sure that if the bracelet broke or you sold out of them, I wouldn't have to worry about it. Right? It's right there on my wrist. That's how important it is to us. And once again, it's not that we're leaving you or anything like that. It's like we're trying to honor everything you're doing and carry it on. And just for our family, it's like, cool. We're under this CEO of, this corporation called Will to Fight, right?
It's an honor, man, honestly. And
Yeah.
it's humbling. And, we're here to challenge people.
Right.
Through Scott's journey, firing me up, our goal is to make you engage your will to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I appreciate it, brother.
Me too.
It was awesome. We'll see you guys next year at Run to Remember LA, and keep up with Scott's journey, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.